History is written by the victors, but it is bled for by those the world forgot to fear. One of the earliest and most explosive examples was Boudica, the Celtic queen of the Iceni tribe in Roman Britain. Her war began not with conquest, but humiliation. After her husband's death, Roman officials annexed her kingdom, flogged her publicly, and assaulted her daughters. It was meant to crush resistance before it began. Instead, it created a storm. Boudica united multiple British tribes into a single war force driven by vengeance. Her army stormed Roman settlements, burning Camalodunum to the ground. Londinium, modern London, was evacuated and destroyed. Thebe, Verulamium, followed soon after. Roman historians recorded nearly 80,000 deaths. For a brief moment, Rome lost control of Britain, but Roman legions regrouped under Governor Suetonius Paulinus. Using disciplined formations, they crushed the tribal army in a decisive battle. Rather than face capture, Boudica is believed to have taken poison, choosing death over chains. Rome won the battlefield, but never erased her terror from their records. Centuries later, in feudal Japan, another name emerged from war, one that blurred the line between myth and reality. Her name was Tomoe Gozen, a female samurai, an onabushi, who rode into the Genpei War alongside male commanders. Tomoe Gozen was trained in archery, sword combat, and mounted warfare. Ancient war chronicles describe her as fearless. One account claims she charged into enemy ranks, killed a warrior in single combat, and returned holding his severed head. She served Minamoto no Yoshinaka as both warrior and commander. When Yoshinaka was defeated, Tomoe Gozen refused retreat. She launched one final charge into enemy forces. After that battle, she vanished. Some say she died, others say she survived and lived quietly, but history never confirmed her fate, turning Tomoe Gozen into Japan's eternal warrior legend. In medieval France, warfare took a different shape, one driven by faith rather than steel. Her name was Joan of Arc, a teenage peasant girl who claimed divine voices guided her to save France during the 100 Years' War. At just 17, Joan of Arc convinced French commanders to let her lead troops at the Siege of Orléans. She carried no sword in most depictions, only a banner, yet soldiers followed her with absolute belief. Under her leadership, French forces broke the siege and shifted the momentum of the war. She later escorted Charles VII to his coronation, fulfilling what she claimed was God's mission. But victory created political fear. Captured by Burgundian allies of England, Joan of Arc was sold and tried for heresy. At 19 years old, she was burned alive. Her execution turned her from commander into martyr, and centuries later, into a saint. Across the ocean, in the deserts of the American Southwest, another warrior fought not for kingdom, but survival. Her name was Lozin, an Apache warrior and sister to Chief Victorio. Lozin fought U.S. and Mexican forces during the Apache resistance wars, but she was known for more than combat. Apache warriors believed Lozin possessed spiritual sensing abilities, able to locate enemy troops through prayer rituals before battle. Whether mystical or intuitive, her guidance repeatedly saved her people. She rode in raids, scouted enemy movement, and fought alongside male warriors as an equal. Even after capture, her legend endured as both warrior and spiritual protector. In Japan's final samurai conflicts, honor demanded death over surrender. The warrior who embodied this was Nakano Takeko. During the Boshin War, Nakano Takeko led the Joshitai, an all-female combat unit armed with naginata polearms. They fought Imperial rifle troops despite overwhelming disadvantage. In one final charge, Nakano Takeko cut down multiple enemy soldiers before being shot in the chest. Knowing capture meant dishonor, she asked her sister to behead her. Her head was buried beneath a pine tree, preserving her dignity in death. Modern warfare created a new kind of battlefield, one defined by distance and precision, and one of its deadliest figures was Lyudmila Pavlichenko. A Soviet sniper during World War II, Lyudmila Pavlichenko recorded 309 confirmed kills, making her one of history's most lethal snipers. She fought in the sieges of Odessa and Sevastopol, targeting officers and enemy snipers. Each kill required patience, breath control, and emotional suppression. Despite global fame, the psychological toll of her work followed her long after the battlefield. Some warriors fought without uniforms at all. Nancy Wake was one of them. A journalist turned resistance operative, Nancy Wake became one of the Gestapo's most wanted enemies. Nicknamed the White Mouse, she evaded capture repeatedly while leading sabotage missions across Nazi-occupied France. She armed resistance fighters, destroyed supply lines, and once cycled over 500 kilometers through enemy territory to restore communications. A bounty was placed on her head, but she survived the war. On the Mongol steppe, strength itself became power. Kutulun, niece of Kublai Khan, refused marriage unless a suitor could defeat her in wrestling. None succeeded. Kutulun defeated every challenger, winning thousands of horses. But she was not just a competitor. She rode into battle with Mongol armies, armored and feared. In colonial India, resistance took royal form. Lakshmi Bai, Queen of Jhansi, refused British annexation of her kingdom. She led troops personally into battle during the 1857 rebellion. Legends claim Lakshmi Bai fought with her child strapped to her back. She died on the battlefield, becoming a martyr of anti-colonial resistance. At sea, warfare turned into empire under Qing Shi. A former pirate consort turned commander, Qing Shi controlled a fleet of over 70,000 pirates. She enforced brutal discipline and defeated imperial Chinese, Portuguese, and British forces. Unlike most pirates, Qing Shi retired wealthy and undefeated. In World War I trenches, identity itself became sacrificed through Milunka Savic. She enlisted disguised as a man and fought in multiple Balkan conflicts. By the time her identity was discovered, she had already proven indispensable. Milunka Savic became the most decorated female combatant in modern warfare, yet lived later life in poverty. These women came from different worlds, different centuries, different wars. But they shared one truth. They refused to remain spectators in history's bloodshed. They entered the battlefield and forced history to remember them. Because when war wore a woman's face, it did not become softer. It became more terrifying. Another name that history carved into rebellion was Yea Asantewaa. She was the queen mother of the Ashanti Empire in West Africa. When British forces demanded the sacred golden stool, the spiritual symbol of Ashanti sovereignty, male leaders hesitated, but Yea Asantewaa did not. She rose, gathered warriors, and led the War of the Golden Stool in 1900. She commanded troops, organized sieges, and became the face of anti-colonial resistance. Even after defeat and exile, Yea Asantewaa remained a symbol of fearless leadership against empire. From ancient Vietnam came the warrior sisters, beginning with Trung Trac. When Chinese imperial forces executed her husband and tightened control over Vietnamese lands, Trung Trac ignited a rebellion. She and her sister raised an army, liberated dozens of cities, and ruled independent territory for a brief but powerful period. She did not fight from the shadows. She ruled from the front lines. Beside her stood Trung Nhi, her co-general and sister in both blood and war. Trung Nhi commanded troops, coordinated defenses, and helped sustain the uprising against a far larger imperial force. Though the rebellion was eventually crushed, the Trung sisters became immortal symbols of Vietnamese resistance and warrior pride. Traveling further back into ancient China, we encounter Fu Heos, a queen, priestess, and military general of the Shang dynasty. Fu Heo commanded thousands of soldiers in large-scale campaigns. Archaeological records and oracle bone inscriptions confirm her leadership in multiple victorious battles. She was not symbolic royalty. She was an active battlefield commander whose military success expanded Shang territory. Empires wrote laws, armies drew borders, kings claimed victory. But in the shadows of those victories stood women who were never meant to be there. Women who picked up swords when kingdoms fell. Women who fired rifles when nations burned. Women who led armies when hope was gone.